Today's leaders learning from Marcus Aurelius. In an age of noise, where voices compete for attention and leadership often bows to applause, one man's words echo from the ruins of ancient Rome, calm, disciplined, and timeless. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-king, the emperor who ruled not by the sword, but by self-mastery. He reigned over one of the largest empires in history, yet he wrote privately about weakness, anger, and the daily struggle to do what is right. His journal, Meditations, wasn't meant for fame. It was his way of staying human while holding ultimate power. Today, in boardrooms, parliaments, and classrooms, his lessons still whisper, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. When we talk about leadership today, we speak of influence, charisma, and innovation. But Marcus Aurelius reminds us of something older and deeper. That leadership begins where ego ends, that power without principle destroys the one who wields it. He faced wars, plagues, and betrayals, yet history remembers him as the last good emperor, not because he conquered, but because he controlled himself. In a world obsessed with more, Marcus taught restraint. In an era of spin, he lived in truth. And in moments of despair, he found meaning, not in victory, but in virtue. So, what can modern leaders learn from him? Let's explore 3 eternal lessons. First, master yourself before you command others. Marcus began every morning reminding himself, "Today I shall meet people who are selfish, ungrateful, deceitful." He didn't expect perfection from others. He prepared for it in himself. Leadership isn't about changing everyone. It's about changing your reaction to them. When modern executives lose their temper over a failed pitch, or politicians lash out at critics, Marcus would say, "You always control how you respond." Self-control isn't weakness, it's the root of all true strength. Second, lead by example, not by emotion. Marcus faced rebellion from his own generals and betrayal from his closest allies. Yet he wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." Imagine that. The emperor of Rome, refusing to let hatred guide him, when faced with slander, he stayed calm. When tempted by luxury, he stayed simple. Leadership, he believed, isn't about the throne you sit on, but about the posture of your soul. Today's leaders often ask, "How do I gain loyalty?" Marcus would answer, "By deserving it." Integrity commands more respect than authority ever can. Third, and perhaps his greatest insight, remember, you are a steward, not a god, despite his immense power. Marcus often wrote that death comes for kings and beggars alike. Soon you will have forgotten everything. Soon everyone will have forgotten you. For him, leadership wasn't about achieving immortality. It was about making a positive impact. He believed our duty is to leave the world a little better than we found it. To lead without arrogance, to serve without seeking applause. If every leader today, political, corporate, or spiritual, lived by this simple truth, our world would look very different. These aren't just ancient philosophies, they're practical tools for navigating our complex world. Imagine ruling an empire that stretched from the sun-scorched sands of Egypt to the misty shores of Britain. Now imagine doing it with the inner stillness of a monk. This was the world of Marcus Aurelius. He was a Roman emperor who commanded legions and fought brutal wars, yet his greatest battles were never on the field. They were waged within his own mind. He sat on thrones in magnificent marble halls, but his thoughts were often fixed on something far more humble, our return to dust. In his private journal, which we now know as Meditations, he wrote a note to himself that echoes through the centuries. Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good. Now, this might sound grim, but it's not about pessimism, it's about clarity. It is the kind of profound clarity that forces a leader to realize that our time here is incredibly short, and because of that, our purpose must be crystal clear. It's a stark reminder that every decision, every action, carries weight because our moments are numbered. This wasn't just a philosophy for an emperor, it was a practical operating system for a life of consequence. In our modern world, as we scroll through these endless feeds of ambition, noise, and digital clutter, the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius hits harder than ever before. We're bombarded with images of success that scream for attention, for validation, for more. But Marcus teaches us something radically different. He shows us that real leadership doesn't shout, it listens. True leadership doesn't accumulate followers for the sake of numbers. It genuinely serves them. It doesn't chase fleeting trends. It builds an unshakable foundation on timeless principles. Think about it. We have an abundance of celebrities, influencers, and talking heads, but what the world truly needs, now more than ever, are philosopher-kings and philosopher-queens. We need fewer performative speeches and more genuine, quiet reflection. We need fewer people chasing crowns and more people cultivating a conscience. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that the external symbols of power are meaningless without internal integrity. The real throne is the one you build within yourself, based on virtue and reason. One of the most powerful things about Marcus Aurelius is that he didn't lead to be remembered. He wasn't crafting a legacy for the history books or trying to build a personal brand. He led simply to do what was right. Moment by moment, he focused on his duty, on being a good man, because that was the only thing truly within his control. And ironically, that is precisely the kind of leadership that outlasts empires. It's the kind of leadership that survives the rise and fall of civilizations because it's rooted in human virtue, not in temporary power. So, let this be our final reflection today. If you find yourself in any position of power, and that could mean being a parent, a manager, a team captain, or simply a friend, however small or large your circle of influence may be, remember this fundamental truth: real leadership begins in silence. It's born in those quiet moments of stillness when you shut out the noise of the world and ask yourself not, "How do I look?" or "What will they think of me?" but the only question that truly matters: what is the right thing to do? 2,000 years later, the Stoic emperor's voice still echoes through the corridors of time. It whispers to presidents, to teachers, to artists, and to dreamers in every walk of life. His message is a direct and simple challenge: waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be. Be one. Thank you for joining us. If this message resonated with you, please consider subscribing and sharing it with someone who might need to hear it. Until next time.